America's Heartland is made possible by
They make up a small part of our population, but have a huge impact on our lives. They take business risks few others would tolerate, all on our behalf. They're American farmers who feed, fuel, and clothe the world. Monsanto would like to recognize them for all they do for the rest of us. Because ultimately, our success and everyone else's depends on theirs.
and by the American Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of agriculture.
I'm John Lobertini. You know, it's much easier to appreciate American agriculture when you get your own hands dirty getting a crop out of the ground. Well, coming up, we're going to take you to Kansas City, where some consumers are learning about agriculture up close and personal.
Hi there, I'm Rob Stewart. We're taking you to Alabama to meet David Wright. Some of the plants in your yard may have come from his farm, but he will be the first to tell you that a devastating accident helped set his business and his life in bloom.
Hi, I'm Jason Shoultz. Coming up on America's Heartland, we'll introduce you to a Florida couple who turned their education into action, starting up their own organic produce farm. It's all coming up on America's Heartland.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand. In America's heartland, living close to the land.
If you had to pick the most popular vegetables in America, potatoes would certainly be on the list. Think about the millions of French fries we consume every day at fast food restaurants. Well, before those spuds can make it to the deep fryer, you've got to get them out of the ground. Come late September, potato farmers take to these Colorado fields in a race against the weather.
You have to be done by the first part of October, because then you usually have a killing freeze, and when the frost comes in, it will freeze the potatoes in the ground, and then they're not really consumable.
Colorado's San Luis Valley is well known for growing barley used in some famous name beers, and for potatoes that make their way to supermarkets and onto dinner plates. The average person consumes more than 100 pounds of potatoes each year.
This is 60 acres, and we can probably have it finished harvesting by approximately 8 hours.
Smoke and Spuds Potatoes oversee some 3,500 acres that are planted in May and harvested during a 3-week window in early autumn. Field machines drag a chain 12 to 14 inches below the soil surface, unearthing potatoes, which are then scooped up and loaded onto trucks for the first step in packing.
Right now we're harvesting Yukon Gold. We are actually taking 12 rows at a time. We have 2 windrowers that will pick up 4 rows on both sides and put them back into the middle. Then the harvester comes along and picks up 4 or digs 4 and harvests 12 rows at a time.
Valley farmers harvest some 140 million pounds of potatoes. Some make their way to this large processing plant where they're washed, cooled, stored, and separated. Tell me about the different varieties you guys are growing.
We raise several different varieties. We have a russet variety. We also raise yellow flesh potatoes, and we also raise a lot of red yellow flesh potatoes.
The workers here separate spuds by size and quality. Some fail to make the cut.
Their process is to take out what we call the culls. That's what you're not able to eat. That can be rotten or they're misshaped. Those potatoes are sent to either a processing plant or for cattle feed.
Big shipments leave by truck or train. Each of these rail cars on the San Luis and Rio Grande Railroad will carry 130,000 pounds of potatoes, destined for large-scale packers and commercial accounts.
A good-looking potato should be uniform in size, depending on what you want.
Jimmy Luna directs retail packing operations for Mountain King potatoes in Monte Vista, Colorado.
When potatoes leave the field, we load them up on bobtail trucks or semis, bring them into our storage facility here.
One particular on potatoes: depending on when they're harvested, packing and shipping may be delayed till the spuds are cooled to just the right temperature. That allows them to be stored longer. Once at an optimum temperature,
they come up over the packing line, and that's where we will wash them 2-3 times, bring them over the packing line, put them into packages, and get them ready out for consumers.
the packing plant here can turn out thousands of sacks each day, and potatoes remain one of the most important non-cereal crops in the Heartland. The export market for U.S. potatoes totals more than $1 billion a year. Not bad for a lowly tuber that ends up mashed, baked, or fried.
It's pretty amazing the feedback I get from friends, family that have no idea where a potato comes from. All they just eat them. So when I give a tour through here, it's like, oh my God, I had no idea so much work was involved to put a potato in a bag to get it to the consumers.
Potatoes are definitely a new world food, first thought to have been cultivated in South America between 4,000 and 7,000 years ago. There are more than 100 varieties of potatoes worldwide. And did we mention spuds in space? Potatoes were grown on board the Space Shuttle Columbia in 1995.
Do you like to garden? Well, you know, for some people, fresh is what it's all about when it comes to putting food on the table. Right now, we're going to introduce you to some people who take a hands-on approach to making that connection from farm to fork. It's an unlikely spot for an agrarian effort, a street corner garden in a gritty section of Kansas City, Kansas, a symbol of change.
Pea picking, that's what we're doing right now. Hey, be careful.
Angela Green is teaching these inner city youngsters how to grow their own food and appreciate it.
Okay, everybody, I want you all over to the raised bed.
In ways most have never considered.
So this is something that our culture has to realize, that we can still eat our traditional soul foods, but we can make them healthier and still have them be tasty to us, okay?
Green created the city's Salt of the Earth program, community-supported agriculture that champions work skills, neighborhood cooperation, and entrepreneurship.
Go over there to that bush and see what you can find.
For 11-year-old Jesse Williams, the program means he can turn to the community garden for food.
Most of the stuff is really good because I'm a vegetarian. I like most of the things we grow: cucumbers, zucchini, squash.
The garden tomatoes are in that.
This salsa is one product made from their garden ingredients.
Everything that's in that came from the garden. That's good.
Now that might not look like much, but consider this. Those who know urban agriculture say a community garden on a quarter-acre lot like that will feed 30 families week in, week out for an entire 6-month growing season. Urban agriculture is part of a growing trend all over America. And in the Kansas City area, those agrarian efforts are alive and well.
Our agriculture system used to be diversified. We had large farms, we had mid-sized farms, we had smaller farms. Every region had a local food system. Kansas City basically used to, as little as 50 years ago, used to support itself.
5 years ago, the city's Center for Urban Agriculture created a produce exchange. Here, farmers pool their homegrown goods where members can buy, sell, or trade.
Healthcare funders have gotten interested in supporting local food production because they started realizing that a lot of the obesity epidemic and the subsequent diabetes and heart disease is connected to people's diets.
In the upscale West Bannister neighborhood, Brooke Salvaggio turned her grandfather's backyard into a suburban homestead.
Dan, did you take the bin?
It took the neighbors a while to embrace the idea, but Salvaggio and her husband feed a number of families and they make a living. The concept is opening eyes.
And people just could not believe that this was happening in suburbia. They started thinking about their own lawns and thought to themselves, oh my gosh, I could do this. Maybe not on this level, but I could do this.
A beautiful garden is nice, but points for style don't count for much in the inner city where feeding hungry families is a daily challenge. 63-year-old Sammy Davis teaches farming to inner city residents, but he admits it's a tough sell for people more accustomed to eating fast food.
3 out of 10. It's gonna be happy, gonna like doing it, and now that other 7 is gonna like eating out of it, but they ain't gonna like getting up, bending over.
The city's growing immigrant population is adding diversity to the crops at small community-based gardens like this one. Urban farmers are now trying their hand at Asian melons, lemongrass, and yams.
Don't everybody say it at once, but what is it?
Mint.
Back at the corner of 13th and Georgia, Angela Green is trying to make an impression on the next generation.
We are the salt of the earth. The garden is a metaphor for life. We have to tend the garden. We have to pull the weeds. We have to take care of it. And it's just like that with our lives. If we don't do that, then we don't reap what we're trying to sow. We till the earth, sow the seed, cultivate, pull the weeds, and people we feed.
With urban gardens and productive farms, there's a lot growing in the Kansas soil. The Sunflower State is the country's #1 producer of wheat and sorghum. But there's a lot going on underground as well. The state has cataloged more than 500 caves beneath 37 Kansas counties.
Hi, I'm Rob Stewart, and still ahead, we'll take you to Alabama to meet a farmer who's had great success making your garden grow.
Still to come on America's Heartland, we'll take you to Warden Farm in Punta Gorda, Florida, where the owners have taken their educational research and put it to action right here. When it comes to convenience foods, grocery stores have one of the most popular items in the bag. I'm talking about bag salads. Now think about this. 15 years ago, bag salads didn't even exist, and now they account for 70% of lettuce sales. It's the reality of our modern lives. Garden greens that are already washed, dried, and chopped into bite-sized pieces for you to serve up in your salad bowl. There's iceberg, romaine, mixed greens, and spinach kits with a sell-by date stamped on the bag so you can pick and choose for freshness. So why the huge increase in availability? Let's go to the lab. Manufacturers have capitalized on the science of low oxygen conditions during processing. That extends the freshness of bagged salads. Cold temperatures are also important. At every stage of production, from bagging to the grocer's refrigerated shelves, 40 degrees or lower helps minimize bacterial growth and maintain the product's nutritional value. Even the bag helps. Most are made of breathable plastic, which eliminates the need for preservatives. Properly kept, you'll be dining on the fresh greens for up to a week. And if you want to up your nutrition content, consider throwing in some snap peas or maybe some cherry tomatoes or, of course, some mini-cut carrots. You got yourself a fresh, healthy meal right off the shelf.
Nursery crops and horticulture are a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States, with growers selling just about everything you can imagine, from these roses to rhododendron. And what about the plants in your yard? Well, they just may have come from a farmer in Alabama who is having a career he didn't exactly plan.
Spring and summer are in full bloom at Wright's Nursery and Greenhouse, one of Alabama's most successful grower operations. Wright's is a production powerhouse, turning out more than 4 million plants a year. Many are grown in the farm's 92,000 square foot greenhouse. But this farm's success story comes in large part from owner David Wright's ability to turn tragedy into triumph. Take a close look. You may think something is missing here, but David disagrees.
I attribute me having this one arm to everything that we have today, because that was the beginning.
In 1966, David lost his right arm in a farm machinery accident. That's when his dad decided that some changes on the farm might create a new future for his son.
My daddy decided to build a greenhouse and to sort of give me something to do.
When we got married, this greenhouse was a small greenhouse, that a family thing, and we all worked together and built it up to a 2-acre business.
4 generations are at work on the Wright family farm, including David's mother, who has a special title herself.
Just anything comes to hand. I have been president of the company. I'm the janitor now, the babysitter, and work up here on this. Or whatever comes to hand, I do.
But even with everyone pitching in, profitability comes from knowing your products and your market. David Wright III, Davy to his friends, handles sales, and his wife Heather oversees office operations.
Vegetables are big right now, mainly because of the economy, I believe. But I believe that they will continue to increase. More people are wanting to plant vegetables, buy local. You can't get more local in your backyard.
And turning a profit these days means turning out crops faster than in the past. A new transplanter speeds up the process.
Our product has a 3-week window of opportunity. In order to make a profit, you need to put another crop in as soon as it gets out. The transplanter that we have up there has the capacity to set out more each day than we actually need. So we take a flat out today, another one is in its place tomorrow.
The Wrights also grow 1,400 acres of timber, harvesting some of the trees each year. And they connect with their customers, answering horticulture questions online at their website.
You think we need to go up and water that flat? We have to water it before we put it on the truck, right?
The family farming connection even includes Davy's son Noah, the next generation to plant his hands and heart in the soil.
What kind of flower is this, Noah? You know? What color is it? Purple. Right, it's a pansy.
The best thing that is that you're working around your family and friends. I just love the people. I love the plants. I just love everything about this industry and this business.
The Wrights consider their operation a farm-to-family business, delivering something from the earth to those who appreciate it.
It gives you a good feeling to know that you've worked hard. People need to have plants in their yard, and they need to do things that are green. I think environmentally, that's the main thing.
And at 14, I didn't think having one arm was too good. But by the time I was 20 years old, I realized that that's the best thing that ever happened to me.
In addition to cotton, Alabama is one of the country's largest poultry producers. And not only chicken, Alabama has a thriving quail industry. The word Alabama means tribal town in the Native American language of the Creek tribe. And let's be clear about this. Every time you turn on your windshield wipers, you can thank Alabama native Mary Anderson. She patented windshield wipers in 1903.
My name is Monty Bottens, and I am a water and crop management specialist. We work directly with growers to help them produce crops in the most cost-efficient manner possible by looking at the inputs that they're using in regards to fertility inputs, water management, and equipment inputs to make sure that everything is working in a synergistic fashion to get the most yield. Well, there's several things that we can do with the soil to help conserve water. One is if we can reduce tillage, we're reducing the amount that we evaporate. Two is if we leave a residue on the surface, we reduce the amount of evaporation. But three is if we can grow a bigger crop with the same amount of water, we may not have saved water, but we've increased the amount of water use efficiency. It's science, but it's also art. We know the science, but farmers are artists too in applying the science. Well, one of the things that obviously comes to mind is irrigation management. What we can do there to increase efficiency, moving away from gravitational irrigation to drip systems and overhead sprinklers. Next thing we can look at is what's actually going on in the soil as far as the chemical balance within the soil. Then after that, we look at growing a plant that has a more efficient root system and a larger root mass to get the water into the plant. And then from there, making sure that we're feeding that plant right through the rest of the season, keeping it healthy so it continues to grow new roots to improve water use efficiency. We have a limited resource here, and even groundwater continues to drop. And we have to conserve and make the best of what we can for today so that there's more for future generations.
For a growing number of farmers across the United States, working directly with consumers is a great way to have a stable market for the crops that they produce. Community-supported agriculture programs have increased tenfold in the past 20 years. And for one young Florida couple, it's a great way to show the importance of agriculture to people on and off the land. It's a sunny Wednesday morning at the Fisherman's Village shopping mall in Punta Gorda, Florida. And the Warden's Farmers Market has got your greens,
so you can saute them or
tomatoes and sweet corn, all standard farmers market fare. But in the corner
it tastes like cauliflower.
Is an interesting looking vegetable called Romanesco that attracts quite a bit of attention.
You just kind of steam it for a while. Yes, you can steam it and add a little salt and you're there.
Fortunately for customers, the farmer who grew that unusually pointed produce is close by and willing to share cooking tips.
People really like to diversify their diets, and it's a nice way to add excitement to what would normally be just a regular household activity.
Connecting with customers is Eva Warden's passion.
It isn't just about filling the stomach. It's also about having a personal relationship with the people who grow the food.
Eva Warden and her husband Chris are the owners of Warden Farm. The organic fruit and vegetable farm is located about 15 miles from downtown Punta Gorda. In many ways, it's a return to farming of past generations. The Wardens sell produce and feed their family with the livestock and produce raised on the farm. The Wardens also connect with their customers through a community-supported agriculture program where members pay for a yearly membership and receive seasonal produce weekly.
Nice, thank you.
The farm is a culmination of the Warden's lifelong study of the role of food and agriculture in the community. Chris and Eva have PhDs in agriculture-related fields. Instead of testing their theories in academia, they put them to the test in the real world.
I use my research and my education every day here at the farm, looking at innovations to bring to production, refining irrigation, looking at water, moisture, soil testing and plant leaf testing.
I think that growing up in the suburbs for me and having food come to me with no story behind it was something that I wanted to rectify. And doing that as an adult, being able to grow my own food was very satisfying. And being able to grow food for other people is personally satisfying when I see how happy they are.
The couple hasn't given up on their educational roots altogether. During the growing season, you'll find about half a dozen people getting hands-on lessons in farming. The Wardens attract apprentices from all over North America. Jean-Michel Arquin-Boucher and Karine Bertrand operate a small farm near Montreal, Canada. They're spending their winter in Florida at Warden Farm.
You need to work on a farm, that's how you're gonna learn, especially if you're not from a farming background, as we are. You can also go to formal classes, but when you do the full season, you really get to learn how it really works.
You're learning about soil, you're learning about microorganisms, you're learning about physiology, plant physiology, but when you're in the field and you saw the plants growing and you see, okay, it's warm, there's water, okay, it's growing really fast.
The Wardens are familiar with growing fast. Their farm has grown significantly since Chris and Eva started working 8 acres of this ground in 2004. Well, it's 3 o'clock here on the Warden Farm and things haven't slowed down at all. We're inside the barn where CSA members are coming by to pick up their fresh produce like they do each week. They can pick out things like fresh greens, beets, and of course, here's that Romanesco again. For all the people that buy their produce at the grocery store that live in the suburbs today, they're saying, what's wrong with that? Why can't I get my produce at the grocery store? Do I have to have a connection with the farmer?
When we have different priorities in our lives, we make different choices. So if somebody doesn't have it as a priority, then I respect that. I also, though, believe that there's much to be gained on the personal, individual level and also the societal level for people connecting to a farm.
Farmers Market customer Mary McLaughlin quickly picks up some fresh produce while her husband fuels up their boat at the nearby dock.
I'm glad to have them right here, have the farmers market right here.
This Vermont snowbird says even on the water, the fresh produce is a way for her to connect with the Wardens.
Doesn't get any fresher than this. You get more out of it this way. The farmer gets more money.
Well, that's all from Warden Farm in Punta Gorda, Florida. I'm Jason Shoultz. Thanks for joining us. We got some produce to take inside, huh?
Yeah, take the light one and come inside.
All right.
And we're always pleased that you can join us. Hey, remember, there's much more on our website, including video from today's show. Just log on to americasheartland.org. We will see you next time, right here on America's Heartland.
To order a copy of this broadcast, visit us online or call 1-888-814-3923. The cost is $14.95 plus shipping.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland, living close to the land.
America's Heartland is made possible by
They make up a small part of our population, but have a huge impact on our lives. They take business risks few others would tolerate, all on our behalf. They're American farmers who feed, fuel, and clothe the world. Monsanto would like to recognize them for all they do for the rest of us. Because ultimately, our success and everyone else's depends on theirs.
And by the American Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of agriculture.